Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. In this video, I think we're gonna pretty much just go around and make sure we have things looking the way we want them to. There's a lot of areas that we've sort of skipped over or only lightly detailed, and I want to make sure that those areas have the attention that they deserve in their designs. And so, as we've mentioned before, I'm going to start winding this series down and sort of adding the finishing touches over the next few episodes. And so pretty much what that means is we're just going to go through and make sure everything looks good. I don't think there's going to be much more of adding lines or connections. The cities just continue to keep growing at a rate where I can't keep up personally with extending the bus routes, so we probably won't really do much with that unless it's something serious. But other than that, things like our harbors over here for these mines that we recently placed, we'll get those detailed up, and we'll just go around and take a look at all of our other stations and make sure that they're looking good, functioning good, and we're okay with where they're at. And so speaking of starting over here, somehow, while we were in the midst of detailing, we actually ended up disconnecting this station from this industry, and I'm not too sure how that happened, but I want to make sure we get that connected up, and I'm thinking one of the better ways to go about that is by bringing a road back around this way. We can try to make it blend in as well as possible, but really all we just need is that road connection. And so again, I think pretty much we're going to try to bring a road around like this, and we'll have to pretty much curve it around to get the look that we want. This will also help provide a little bit of an edge towards the back end here. So we'll curve this around probably about like this, and then we can curve that into here. And then of course we're going to have to change the location of these trucks, but first, and most importantly, if we check this, we are now connected to this iron mine, so everything should start working here again. And so pretty much we'll just come through here and paint over all the grass that's sort of popping up here, as this road now provides an edge that we don't necessarily need with that grass line that we had before. We will come through with the smooth tool and smooth out the edges of this road. Just make sure it all looks good. And of course we'll want to pay extra close attention to where we have some of these just default asphalt connections that don't really look good. We can just come in here, get rid of those, and that makes this whole area look a lot nicer. Alright, now while we're over here at the iron mine, let's just sort of add a little bit of closure here for this cargo port. And so I don't think we're going to do anything too big or special here. I think really all we're going to do is provide a little bit of a fence right along this way. So we'll get this placed just like that, and then the rest of this can just be open to the road, but then we'll paint this in with asphalt, add in some iron assets to sell the look, and that'll pretty much be it. Again, it doesn't really have to be too much to get it to fit in. I think it just doesn't need to be the base look. Alright, so I think this works out well enough. We just added a few of these iron containers and then a few boxes of goods, so it almost seems like some resources are getting shipped into the iron mines, and I think this is just fine for this. We'll do something similar to our coal mine harbor over here. We'll get this truck stop to blend in a little better, and then we can move on from this line. Alright, so here's this area. Again, pretty much the same thing with these resources here. We paved in a lot of this area so that it sort of combines in with the road depot, and I'm pretty happy with how this looks. And so quickly, a sort of finishing touch over here along this road, we'll just smooth out the area along the road so we don't get those really jagged edges and slopes. Now looking around the other places of the map, it seems like Birmingham has finally reached the point where it can extend up by our airport, and this really threw a wrench in a lot of our things here. So hopefully just by deleting this, it doesn't ruin too much of what we had here. It looks like it didn't really do much besides maybe mess up a fence or two. So yeah, it looks like we might have lost some of our fences here. So that should be an easy fix. We'll have to add in a collision tile now up here, but other than that, I think we might make it so that the city can't build anywhere up here just because we have an airport. It's not even like these buildings would really enjoy being up here anyway. And so let's grab our fences and we'll find where this occurred over here. Now unfortunately it's not going to be perfect because it's not part of the original fence anymore, but something like this from a distance you're not going to be able to tell anyway. And then I think there's just one more area here that needs a bit more of a fence, and we'll end this off right there, and that should be good. So now we will grab our collision tile, we'll make this fairly large, get this lined up with our road. And now the tricky part's going to be getting this to fill in the area we want without eating into the areas we don't want it to. And so it doesn't seem that hard. I think if maybe we put this here and then we just sort of slide this over this way, the city shouldn't really extend over this way or build buildings on this road. It might try to come over here and build on this edge, which I guess I'd be okay with that, but we definitely don't want buildings here or over here. But I don't think the city can reach these anyway, since we now have the collision tile blocking this road. And while we're here in Birmingham, let's just make sure all of our lines are running well. And taking a look at our train station, it seems like a large portion of our traffic is going into Jackson. And taking a look at our finances, zooming out, it's been pretty steady for the most part. I just worry that on the Jackson end there's not much demand, but I think maybe we can get a 4th train running on this, and that will help bring down our numbers in Birmingham. And looking at our bus and tram station, there seems to be a steady amount of people at each one. Doesn't seem like our buses or trams are too overflowing, but they are at least moving people, and that's what we really want to see. And now it seems like over in this end of Birmingham, we're starting to get some traffic coming into the city, specifically coming into this cargo area. And I'm just wondering if maybe we can get a road connection out here. I think we do have a collision tile under here, so that's probably what's preventing us from doing this. So we'll configure this, and it still looks like we can't do that. So maybe it's the road height. And actually, what I think it is these fences. I keep forgetting that these have collision on them, so if you try to build something, it will collide with it. So it looks like maybe we have to delete 1 or 2 more over this way. And now that we've deleted the road, we can get this to fit back in here. Hopefully we can get this in without it being too weird compared to before. But it looks like... And so unfortunately we had to do some weird road connection here because we couldn't extend this out farther. But the hope now is for our trucks coming from the cargo hub, since those are probably our most sort of in-demand routes. We're going to have them come out this way and loop around and head out of the city that way, which will probably require us to add in a waypoint. So we'll just add that in over here, and we can just simply manage this line, add to it, and we'll see that it looks like it comes into this intersection now. Now that's the only one that we're going to force to go that way. I think we might have a few others that will just naturally come in and out of this way now, specifically the ones that are over on this end of the city. So that'll also help clear up this intersection a bit more from truck traffic. But other things we can do involve cleaning up these roads and intersection connections so we have a large enough section of road for cars to queue up. So we can do something like that. Or maybe we can even pull this back a little farther and get this more split evenly. And so doing that should help with our traffic coming into the city by getting some of our trucks coming out of the other side so that these cars can flow freely through this intersection. And now as we're working our way around the map, I'm double checking all these industries and making sure that everything's working well with them. One thing I noticed quick was this fuel line is actually operating at a rate that's lower than this fuel refinery currently. So let's get this fixed up by, I think, upgrading these boats since it has been a while. And let's go with these tanker towboats. We haven't used these yet, and that gets us well over the 800 that is required to move everything from this fuel refinery. Now, one quick thing I'd like to do with this food processing plant is just paint in more asphalt so this is a little bit more cohesive, so we don't have this weird jagged edge sort of splitting sort of halfway into our processing plant. So we'll just come in here, grab our paint tool, and attempt to get rid of all the grass that's sort of sitting in here. We'll do our best not to paint over what's inside the industry, but I think something like this looks pretty good. I'm unsure if we should fence it off or not, since this would just sort of become a vacant sort of area, although I suppose we can just get rid of this fence and extend this over more. So let's just go with that. And we'll have to be careful we don't end up erasing any of the other stuff that we have here. And then we can finish off getting our fence in. And so I think this looks a lot better. It fills out this lot much more. I'm pretty happy with how this food processing plant came out. It's a really cool complex. I wish maybe we could fill out the rest of this lot, but I just don't think we really have the variety to add that much more to it. But I still think it's a cool area. And so continuing on and around the map, we come to our farms just outside of Modesto. And I think what we're going to do is protect this farm with a collision tile so that the city buildings don't come in here and destroy all these fields. We will keep this here, but I think pretty much we're going to draw the line right along this area. And so again, this will pretty much just be a case of placing down some collision tiles, and this just helps to ensure that the city won't try to build in this location in the future. Alright, now the next area I want to look at is our drop-offs here at this train station. I know I wanted to come back here at some point and make a nicer, neater drop-off area for all of our resources in here. So let's get into doing that. Now really, there's not much that we have to add in for this. I guess we'll have to use these high-speed ramps, or just even regular highway ramps. And I want to get a one-way going this way and back around, and then another one-way going this way and back around. And that way it makes more sense that there is a drop-off on this road, so that we don't have these trucks making unrealistic U-turns. Alright, so here's what this looks like. We switched this to a one-way so that all the coal gets dropped off at this one, and then all the iron gets dropped off at this one, and they have the ability then to just loop around, and hopefully that should flow a lot easier than some of our other areas. Now, interestingly enough, looking at this coal line, we somehow end up with a rate much lower than 800, and I'm not sure what caused that, but hopefully just duplicating a few of these vehicles should get us right back up to, I believe it's 800 that we need. And so it looks like a nice even 22 trucks gets us to a rate of 838, which is good enough to get all the coal from out here over to this train line. And so now I want to take a step back, and we'll be finished with the detailing for this video, and let's take a look at some of these lines and see if there's any that really need revamped in terms of making us money. And so this line isn't making us any money, so I think something went wrong when we redid some of these, and I think the solution's pretty simple. We accidentally selected this instead of this truck station out here, so it should just be as simple as that. That should immediately fix our issues, and we should see fuel starting to come back into this area. Now, another good thing I'm noticing here in San Jose is our line of traffic is slowly making its way down this road. Before, it was backed up all the way to the edge of our city of Downey, and that has now pretty much moved halfway to San Jose, so that does tell me that our roads are clearing up. It is very slowly, however, so it is going to take a while for us to see these roads all cleared up. And one more thing I want to do here in San Jose is we have a bunch of people waiting at this port, and I think we can finally move on from these hovercrafts, and we can replace these with slightly slower but much higher capacity ferry. So we'll do this, and that greatly increases how many people will be moving, so we don't need as many boats. So this should work. We'll just have to keep an eye on how many people it's moving and make sure we're not going overboard with this. But taking a look at our chart, it seems like the hovercrafts were sitting about 880, and this bumped it up to about 1200. So considering there was a bunch of people waiting at these ports, I'm okay with the amount of ships that we have on this line now. So now that should be this fuel line that will start making us money again. And the next line that's causing us to bleed a bunch of money is our Birmingham to Montgomery plane line. And I think it's just due to the lack of demand between this route. So we'll sell one of these vehicles, so we're left with just a single plane flying between these cities. I think that will be okay. Moving on to the next issue is our Montgomery to Sacramento plane line. And this one's losing us a lot of money. However, we can't get any fewer planes here, so I think this might be a matter of just simply getting a less expensive plane. And so I think if we go with this Boeing 737, it's about $2 million a year cheaper. It has lower capacity, so it'll be running at a little bit better efficiency in terms of how many people it'll be moving. So I see that as a win financially. And so it looks like the rest of these are just bus lines, and probably lines that are very long, so they're probably skipping some periods financially. And as long as it's bus lines and stuff like that that we're losing money from, I'm okay with that. The only thing that would change is if we were losing money on a line that's vitally important to our network. And so I'm not sure what happened to our earnings number down here, but we seem to be losing a very alarming amount of money, which I don't think is true. I think we might be making so much money that it's causing something weird to happen with the numbers, but obviously we're not losing money, so that's not something we should be worried about. And so while we're sort of looking at this, let's go through some of our map statistics and just take a quick look at how things have changed over time for us. Unfortunately, it seems like our finances are somewhat broken due to these ridiculously high numbers popping in here. I don't think we can really erase those, so I don't think we're going to be able to see an accurate chart of our financials, at least if it's showing profit over a certain period of time. However, this graph works, which just pretty much shows our net worth over time, and it's been pretty consistent. There's not really any moment that we've lost money. It seems like we might have slowed down in this period between 1940 and 1960, but things have been pretty consistently going up since then. And then as for our tracks, this is a pretty interesting graph, as we've had almost a linear correlation of tracks added to this map throughout the entire series, which this was something sort of interesting to see, because I maybe would have expected that more recently we'd have slowed down since we would be reusing tracks, but I suppose that's changed as we've added new lines fairly recently. And then here, looking at our towns tab, I believe this is overall on the map. So our overall population is about 55,000, and then shopping facilities at about 40,000, and jobs are also around 40,000. These are some pretty high numbers for this game, and I'm pretty happy that we're able to get this much out of this map. And then just in our headquarters, all of the other miscellaneous numbers that we'll scroll through. Nothing's really popping out besides the ridiculously large amount of road vehicles we have. Some interesting stuff. You can see the total miles of track that we have here, as well as our highest speed vehicle, which is obviously a plane, and our oldest vehicle, which is actually over 100 years old. It's probably some line we forgot about a while ago, and it's been still making us money, so we haven't really needed to upgrade it. And then as for these numbers here, we're just coming up to 9 million cargo transported throughout this series, and 200 or 2.28 million passengers transported as well. So all these are very interesting statistics, and it's very cool to see this over such a lengthy playthrough. And so I think that's going to do it for this video. There's still obviously more that I want to do before we finish this off, so if there's any areas that you want me to take a look at and maybe redesign, add, or just clean up a little bit, let me know down in the comments so I can get to that before we end off this series. But anyway, with that, if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.